Well, as is customary on my DVDs, I like to start the ball rolling by kind of introducing the opening to you by means of a few inspiring games. And we're going to go all the way back to the year 2000 now, to the Summer Open in Toronto. And we're going to pick up on a game between Ochkus and the Canadian Grandmaster Kevin Spraggett to show you how well the Leningrad Dutch can react when white goes even slightly wrong. The Leningrad Dutch is characterised by the early fianchetto of black's king's bishop. This is what makes the Leningrad Dutch so attractive to a lot of players. It seems as though black is getting a kind of accelerated version of the King's Indian. We'll go into the pros and cons of that idea a bit later on, but there's no doubt about it, the Leningrad Dutch is a very aggressive way to start the game, and it does appeal to a lot of players precisely because of this. The Leningrad Dutch frightens the average player. They don't like the idea of a sudden kingside attack so early in the game, and this is why I believe it's a pretty good choice for most players. Well, Ochkus employs the bog standard recipe, as we say in England, of just shunting out his pieces, fianchettoing the king bishop and castling. There we have it. You can definitely call this the mainline position, and if you play the Leningrad Dutch, you're bound to get this position, I would guess, at least 50% of the time. This is what they all do, and it's probably white's best way of playing, but it's not easy. I think that maybe the theory books give a slightly optimistic assessment of white's chances in this position. I think on a practical level, black's position is, I wouldn't say easy to play, but it's quite satisfactory from an aggressive point of view. Black will always get plenty of chances. And now in this position there are a number of moves for black. Spraggett comes out with the move c6, which is the one I'm going to recommend to you on this DVD, but black has other moves. For instance, black can play queen e8 in this position. That's very common. He can play knight a6. That's also a possibility. Going back to castles, he can play that very sharp but probably refuted move, knight c6 in this position. And so you can see there's plenty of choice. c6, pretty good move, blunts the bishop on g2, very flexible, ideal for a grandmaster wanting to outplay a weaker opponent. White's given plenty of rope. In a sense, black's making the most useful move he can find. He's inviting white to show what he's doing, and then he's going to react accordingly. We don't know quite what black is going to do yet. And sure enough, white comes out with, not a mistake, but a move I don't like very much, bishop to f4. I mean, I'm not sure I understand why white puts his bishop on that square. I can see two possibilities for white, which might mitigate for that move. White might be threatening to go queen d2 and then bishop h6. Generally in the Leningrad, it's not a good idea for black to have his bishop on g7 exchanged early in the game. So maybe that's one idea. Second idea for white would be to restrain the move e5 by black. I would say at all stages in the Leningrad Dutch, black should be looking to play that move if he can. The move doesn't come free of charge. You know, you can't just lash out with e5 as and when you see fit. e5 is very good if it can be played in the right circumstances, but quite often, you know, black can weaken himself, and in particular after e5, black's got to be very careful the diagonal a3, f8 doesn't become severely weakened. So bishop f4, okay, we can make sense of it if we really want to, but I think it's not white's best here. And I think Spraggett now plays a good idea here, knight to h5. Now, if that was a simple case of putting the knight on the edge of the board, I would have to say, well, you know, it's not a very good move, but it's not. En passant, almost, black attacks the white bishop. I mean, white doesn't really want that bishop exchanged off for the knight. The main idea for black is to uncover the bishop on g7 and facilitate the advance e5, which is precisely what happens in this game. White gets scared that the bishop on e5 on f4 is going to disappear, so he retreats it, and now this gives black the ample opportunity to go straight through with the move e5.